100 years ago, Arthur Swanson brought the Speed Square to market. That guy must have been sharp to have figured out a way to get all this information in a tool this size, compared to the tools that people were carrying way back then to do the work that they did and that we still do. Now, tools make big leaps forward, right? And you probably have heard me brag about the Rufus, which is the last and I think final logical progression from combination square to squangle to this elegant thing. But in the same way that the Rufus superseded the combination square, I've got to say, the Smart Square supersedes the Speed Square. Full disclosure, I've never used this on a job, but I've been on enough jobs to be able to tell the ways that it's going to help. So I'm going to sort of demonstrate at least a few of the ways that this thing sets itself apart before we go down to the shop of Dan McGee, the owner, the developer, the patent holder of SmartSquareTools.com. He was right here in this shop 3 weeks ago, and he gave me these beautiful implements. And I just happened to be in Mesa, Arizona last week visiting my son Adam and his wife Cambria, and I thought, what the heck? I'm going to run over and visit Dan where he makes these things. So we've got that tour and that interview coming up at the end of this introduction. So right off the bat, he gave me these beautiful tools, and they cost money to buy, but I'm not making anything off the sale. I just want to bring an excellent product to your attention, because sometimes an excellent product is something we really need even if we didn't know that it existed. So Dan has brought something worthwhile. Let me show you what I think are some of the really key points for a carpenter. First of all, the advantage of a Speed Square is the fence is always there ready to be used. And you have the rafter tables, and you have scales, and you can scribe, and you have the degrees that are coordinated with the pitch of the roof. That's all great. You've got all of this with this guy, but you have the added advantage of being able to either put the fence on the left, the right, depending on what you're needing to accomplish and whether you're southpaw or right-handed. And more importantly for steel fabricators, it drops down, I would say, 3/4 of an inch. So a gentle radius on the edge of a piece of square tubing, like you got a piece of 3/8 wall, 4x4, that's a big radius around the corner, but that'll get you down there far enough to get a nice solid bearing. But can you see that vial? In the same way that the Rufus has vials in both directions, this thing has something new under the sun. And it's a 1/4 circumference vial. I have no idea how those are made, but Dan has coordinated with the man that can do it. So you can read level in that direction, you can read level in that direction, you can read plumb, you can even check to see, let me see how this would work. On this one, you can check to see if your 45 is registering level or true 45. Just look at that. It took me a minute to wrap my head around even what's going on with these things, but it is entirely worthwhile. I can tell you that Mr. McGee and his really elegant manufacturing process and the bright idea that he's come to market with is something that you ought to know about, because it might just up your game. Let's go to his shop. So I'm going to catch up with you on some of this, but mostly I just want to make sure that the people who may have just come into this understand that this guy has radically improved the good old Swanson Speed Square. Radically. And you told me in Oregon that this kind of came to you in one shot. You looked up, saw Speed Square, and God gave you an insight that you needed to do something.
Yeah, I give all credit to him, you bet. I just looked up in my rafters one day, and I have a bunch of rafter squares up there, and in 3 seconds I saw the same version, only I saw it with a fence that'll make it go right-handed. You know the typical rafter square? has a fixed fence. Been using it for 100 years. It's been a great invention, a great tool. But when I'm working in the middle, it's fine when I'm working on the edge. But
Sure.
when I move to the middle of my material, which I have to sometimes, this is a really hard mark to make because of that void, and my fence is never laid out.
So for the people who may not be carpenters yet, when you are, you know, almost 3/8 of an inch from your straight edge down to your work surface, it's hard to keep your pencil plumb. Yes. And if you don't, your mark's not true, right?
Right, yeah, you can get all kinds of variations. It's just not a good clean mark.
Now show them the difference with that.
All right, once you go from right-handed to flat, this fence adds 1 inch to this measurement. So instead of 7.5, it becomes 8.5. And as you can see, we have dual marking all the way down, so you never lose track of that inch. You can work in the middle of your material. Your fence is laid out, and because you never lose track of that inch, it's very easy to do accurate flat work.
So the carpenters in the congregation just had an aha moment. Look at that. Speed square equivalent, framing square accuracy in the middle of a piece of material. So it's not enough that this rafter square will lay flat on the work and you have all the various scales and you can scribe any dimension and everything associated with that. But the next thing to talk about is you can turn this into a rafter tail cutting jig, or in the big model, a stair cutting jig with the addition of that little bar. What do you call that bar?
We call it the jig block.
The jig block.
They always come the same color as the square, but just to kind of accentuate it, I'll use a different color jig block so you can see the difference. It attaches. We have 2 slots, 2 jig slots right there, and we just choose the one that works, that serves us better.
Right, that reaches whatever material you're reaching and the position you're working from and all of that.
Right.
And the pitch
and so what you do, you just kind of get
a little thumb screw there.
Little thumb screw comes with it, right? And any angle you can find that you have to repeat, whether you're marking it or cutting it, doesn't really matter. Once I have it set, I'm carrying my jig in my pouch. I'm already carrying my square, now it's a jig. I can make the same mark over and over and over.
Without having to get to the ground, make a couple cuts, and then carry the homemade rafter tail cutting jig up onto the edge of the tails and reach out there and do it. You can get that.
Exactly.
And you have the advantage of, you don't have to get a hold of the whole thing. You can grab it by the corner and lay it down there and get 3 after. It's just perfect.
Exactly. I'll
Yeah.
tell you something, it's a back saver, it's a time saver, and it's highly accurate. One of the other things, you can do a compound if if you know a specific bird's mouth you need to make.
Right.
You can set it to a bird's mouth.
Get the bird's mouth in the middle of the rafters after you
Right.
lay out the ends.
And you've got the jig in your pouch.
Wow, perfectly repeatable. Now, a lot of the tools in here are familiar to me. They're probably familiar to you, and they don't. I mean, I could use them, right? But there's a tool in here I've never seen before, and I don't know if you have either. It's a CO2 laser.
Come on in.
So this is not cutting out the shapes, it's putting the marks on the shapes so that the measurements are accurate, right?
That is correct. Yes, it's burning highly accurate, indelible marks into the hard anodize.
Okay. And is this thing ready to rock?
It's ready to rock.
Okay, let's see what happens.
These are the pros, the 12-inch.
That's not hot or anything?
Nope, not hot at all.
So that's your 12-inch Pro.
Right? And as you can see, we still have to do side B.
Wow, fair amount of time.
Fair amount of time.
So however innovative it is to make the fence adjustable, right, left, and flat, and all that, and those are real improvements, and then however convenient it is to be able to turn this into a jig, maybe the most surprising aspect of this machine is this bubble right there, that vial. Dan, come over here and show us your setup table for setting these levels up, and explain to us about this semi-quarter circle vial.
Okay, so I start with a blank. It's an engraved square, but it does not have a level vial in it yet. I put it on my level table that's been calibrated every morning.
So you tune this up every morning, so
Every
it is
morning.
very, very level.
Very accurate, yes.
You got a
And,
machinist level there that
I've
you
got a
kind
machinist level,
of
yes.
verify everything with.
I verify everything with this guy every morning on that.
And you
Because-
shim it up in paper thickness.
Yeah, I literally shim it with pieces of paper. It is that fine a tool, so it's pretty impressive, especially for a carpenter.
For a
like me.
carpenter, yeah.
You bet. So anyway, I'll grab one of my level vials. They're hand turned in Emporia, Kansas by W.A. Moyer, and I try to line them up inside the hash mark. I double check it for level. I double check it for plumb.
You're just
And-
making sure that that run of vials matches that run of
hash
aluminum.
marks.
Yeah,
Yes,
perfectly.
of the
Okay.
hash mark. Very good. And then I know that that vial and that square are a perfect match.
Okay, and then you epoxy them in there.
I do with high grade, high temperature epoxy.
You said 240 degree epoxy?
248 degree epoxy.
How fast is that set up?
In about 6 minutes.
6 minutes, and
Yeah.
it gets real hard.
Yeah, it starts getting really hard and it won't melt until 248 degrees.
It doesn't
And-
get that hot in Arizona, does it?
No, awfully close.
Feels like it sometimes.
Yeah,
So with that in mind,
yes.
you know what it's like to work in the heat, don't you?
I do, very much so.
So here's something. I had a couple of good math teachers in high school, but they were not able to give me the connection between mathematics and a practical application of math. So you're a carpenter. You started
Yeah.
out framing,
I did.
and then you decided that you would like to be able to do something besides just carpenter work.
Correct.
So what'd you do?
I went into teaching.
You went to a 4-year university
I went to
somewhere?
ASU, yeah, and I got a degree in phys ed, and it quickly transpired into a math position. And the thing is, I wasn't a good math student in high school.
Right.
And then I became a carpenter for a few years, and all of a sudden math made sense.
All of a sudden math made sense. We may be talking to some guys right now who are not good math students.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about that.
Don't worry about
You
it.
just need to figure out how math applies to the real world, right?
Exactly. If you're a carpenter, a machinist, anything like that, math will mean more to you than every other student you were ever in class with.
And math will get you a raise. Math will make you the boss eventually, right? If you stick with the trades.
That's a true statement. Absolutely. So math just made sense, and I could apply geometry concepts to the real world
Yeah.
in a way that all of a sudden the light bulb would go on.
Yeah,
in a
what
way.
an advantage.
Yeah.
But you didn't forget you were a carpenter just because you were a math and science teacher. How did you keep your hand in both worlds?
Thankfully, I had every weekend to work, every spring break, every Christmas break, every summer, and summertime in Arizona can be kind of taxing.
It's like Las Vegas, right?
Yeah,
It
like
is no
Vegas.
fun at 120 above.
No, it isn't. It
But
really
still, there's an element of doggone it, I can do this,
isn't.
right?
Yes, and when you get through it, if you get through it, you feel like you've accomplished something.
That's right. So we're gonna. Here's what I want you to take away from this clip, because we're about done with this video. You guys have been patient, and I know you've been well rewarded for hanging with us. But for those of you on the front end of a career, the white collar and the blue collar doesn't have to be mutually exclusive, right?
Great. Yes, perfect way to say it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
cool.
agree. They can cohabit.
And then, not only did the math help you on the job site, but the job site and the math helped you in bringing a new product to market.
I think so too.
Wow.
I think so too. We just we tip our cap to the Smart Square or the Rafter Squares that came before us. They're a great tool, always have been. We just put a new twist that we think is makes it more useful than ever.
It makes it much more useful than ever.
Yes.
Well, Dan, thanks for going out of your way to come to my shop a month
I loved
ago,
it.
letting me come over here to see how you work the magic, bringing something really new. So a lot of you have sent me your great ideas, and a lot of them are great ideas, and I apologize that I have not been able to do this for all of your inventions, but this one is as worthwhile as any that's come to my attention. Congratulations,
Scott.
man. So I hope you enjoyed that. Dan's a fine fellow. He's made a lot of contributions to society as a school teacher already. And I have to think that this is a contribution. And I have to think also that maybe there are contributions we can all make like this, because we look at our tools and our lives in the same way day after day until that moment when you look at something differently. And maybe an idea will come to you that'll do everybody some good. These things are precise. They feel like precision, right? I want to say Smith & Wesson. Does that offend anybody? Oh well. They're well made. They're heavier than the regular. They're thicker than the regular Speed Square. They would take a fall, but I tell you what, if I dropped it, I would climb down in a hurry to find out if it was all right. They're made in the United States of America, and I'm really glad that Dan stopped by. Thanks for watching Essential Craftsman, and keep up the good work.